Welcome to this, our last session of the day on cybersecurity, expanding education, tackling cyber threats. Okay, so today we have three amazing speakers for this topic, and we will start with the first one, who is Dr. Chuck Russo. Mr. Russo is an education and public safety professional with over 25 years of experience in both the public and the private sectors. He has a doctorate degree in public affairs coupled with a graduate degrees in criminal justice and education. Well, welcome, Mr. Russo. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the introduction. Welcome, everyone. Hope everyone's having a wonderful afternoon and the conference is going well over there. I'm coming in from sunny Florida, so I think the weather here is probably doing a little better than what you guys are experiencing. What I'm going to be speaking about, myself and Harry, is about cyber education and breaking out of the silo and integrating into other degrees. And what started this topic with us is I'm department chair and professor of the Human Justice and Criminal Justice Department for American Public University System. I came into this role in 2014. I've been with the university for over 20 years now. And when I took over this role in 2014, I inherited essentially a mess. Unfortunately, we had this one degree program, a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice, that was focused on what I called violent crime forensics. And I also had another bachelor's. I had a bachelor's of arts in criminal justice, which any university that has a criminal justice program, that degree is like everyone else's. I had an AA and a master's as well. But this Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice was a problem because we didn't do it very well. Again, it was focused on violent crime forensics and was very, very poorly executed. I was actually embarrassed when I started digging deeper into the courses and looking at what we tried to do, because we didn't do it. We weren't accomplishing our goal. We were not helping students. We fell far short of what we should have been doing. And something needed to be done. It needed to be done quick. Because again, essentially I was embarrassed by it. And I didn't like having my name associated with it. So what I immediately did was I drew up a teach-out program, teach-out plan to essentially kill the degree. And I had my dean on board, and I had others at basically my level and immediately above on board. The teach-out plan was well executed, well drawn up, went up the chain. And when it got to the top, it was received, and they sent back basically 2 letters. No, that's all I got. For some reason, somebody up top was married to it, and I wasn't allowed to kill it. But I got no feedback. I was just told no. So I had to do something. I had to do something quick. And I had to get real creative. So that brought me over to looking for solutions. And that brought me to what Harry has now. And it brought me over to cyber. I had to take all these violent crime courses and make them go away and figure out a way to restructure this program, this degree, to make it beneficial to my students, beneficial to the program, and really try to package it in a way that it benefited all involved. And let me give you a bit about my background. Other than the education component, I was also a police officer. For my law enforcement career lasted over 4 decades. In that time, one of my assignments for many years, I was a background investigator, and I actually ran the background investigations unit for the agency. So I knew, as from an employment standpoint, employer standpoint, what agencies were looking for. And that's why it kind of drew me to the cyber side, because I knew from getting all these applications and processing applicants, when we would see someone with that type of background, we would grab that application and start processing it right away, because we didn't necessarily have the resources to get an individual to get that type of training for them. So if they came to us with that type of training, it was a win for the agency. So when I started looking at what to do with this Bachelor of Science program, Bachelor of Science of Criminal Justice, that's why cyber kind of came to mind. We had a digital forensics certificate, or basically a minor. And so it was a natural, that's where I need to go. The department chair at the time, working with Kevin, was wonderful. He was all a go, and very helpful. However, from working with those above, there were obstacles which made no sense to me. There was lots of internal obstacles. There was a lack of vision by those above. There was lack of imagination, lack of creativity. Those higher up deans, not my dean, but deans in other schools within my organization, the fear of losing control. It was very, I was taken aback by these obstacles. I would think we were able to do better, and we weren't. I'm used to creative problem solving from my background, from working as an officer for so many years. You have to get creative because you don't have a lot of resources. So I'm used to solving problems with basically no budget and a lot of creativity. I saw this as another opportunity for that. However, those above me who were supposed to be the leaders, basically just acted as administrators. Very, very unfortunate, because they didn't have the vision, they didn't have the imagination, they didn't have the creativity, and they fought me tooth and nail. It took me 3 years to get this done. It's something that should have taken about 6 months to max a year, because overcoming these obstacles, selling this, we had the data, we had the numbers. My support services did a great job in putting the information together to show that, look, this would be an innovative program that would be very valuable to the graduates, to the students. It would make them extremely marketable. It'll make them, I had my advisory committee, they were all for it. I had them all on board. Yet my own the internal obstacles were huge. And again, 3 years of banging my head against the wall to get this done. I mean, it was interesting. I was at a conference last year in Albany, New York. And I was having a conversation on the side with a former department chair who'd stepped back to professor for a university over in Denver. And I didn't realize it. At the same time I was doing this, she was trying to do the same thing. She was a department chair of criminal justice and was trying to move cybersecurity out from under a STEM school and into her program because it made more sense. It was a better fit. She ran into the same, we didn't know we were both doing this at the same time. And she ran into the same very obstacles I ran into. And so, her and I were talking about this pattern, and it's unfortunate because we're supposed to be educators. We're supposed to be, innovators, bringing these things to our students, giving them more opportunities. Yet, why do we run into these things? Why do we run into these things with administration? It's unfortunate it happens this way. But it was, a 3-year battle. Eventually, persistence this time won out. I have a degree that I am very, very proud of. My students have, graduate when they complete the program, a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice that has a very, very heavy cybersecurity, digital forensics component. It makes them very, very marketable in pursuing job opportunities, employment opportunities within the criminal justice profession, as well as within private security and other related fields. In obtaining that BS in criminal justice degree, they also come away with a digital forensic certificate, which that in itself is marketable as well in private industry as well as public safety. And the students that find the degree, because unfortunately, still say it's one of our best kept secrets at the university, because still trying to get my marketing team on board. But it's one that everybody that's involved with it is very proud of. And one that we can hang our heads high that, we've been able to bring this thing together. Now, luckily, some of the culture at my institution has changed, where those obstacles no longer are present. And that's one of the reasons why Harry's here. Because, in his role, there's even more cooperation than there was before. And we believe the obstacles have been removed so that we can take the cyber and integrate it into so many other areas because it crosses over everything. And I'm going to turn it over to Harry for him to expand on that. Dr. Cooper?
Yep. So I suppose I should start by saying that Chuck is under the School of Security and Global Studies, what we call SSGS. Cybersecurity was under the STEM program, STEM school. But he raised an extremely good point in that both cyber and criminal justice can actually play together really well. Where I went to get my master's, they were actually in the same exact school. To this day, every time I see somebody with criminal justice degree in one of my classes, I go, another one, because it's a constant thing of seeing them. So our school, the university had decided to try to do some merging with the schools. They were going to merge STEM with arts, I think it was. And I basically stepped up and said, that doesn't make sense for cyber though. We're closer to the security people, the global studies people, and we basically pushed to move cyber, even though the STEM arts thing went away, we still pushed for cyber to be moved over to SSGS because it made a whole lot more sense. With cyber, we tend to be very isolated. We want, this is my toys, let me have my toys, and no, you can't play with my toys. My opinion is that we have to let others play with our toys. We have to have a class on the dark web. I've been talking with one individual about doing a class on dark web and human trafficking. It just makes complete sense for her program, but she doesn't have the expertise or the people that know the dark web to teach it. So we're starting to, underneath the new umbrella of the SSGS, we're starting to actually reach out to all of the other programs and say, okay, what can we give you? You know, we're not just my toys only. We're open to everything. Tell us what you want, tell us what you need, and we'll get it done for you. If we don't take that approach, in the case of Chuck, reaching out and bringing the forensics in, that is unbelievable, because any person coming out with criminal justice degree, it's criminal justice. There's a whole lot, you know, but if you know that you want to do, you know, the CSI techie stuff, then coming to our program and ending your program with a forensics sub-degree is phenomenal. So yes, I am a complete supporter of Chuck in that cyber cannot be a silo amongst itself. It has to work in conjunction with social sciences, such as criminal justice. Back to you, Chuck.
Okay, thank you, Harry. Tommaso, do you wish to pick up?
Yeah, sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. I can follow up. I have a presentation, so I might also share the screen. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tommaso Comunale, and I am a security analyst at the Center for the Study of Democracy, which is a public policy think tank based in Sofia, in Bulgaria. I have a background in criminology, and I've been mostly investigating organized crime, terrorism, and lately also cybercrime from a research and academic point of view. So I can perhaps share the screen so you can all see my presentation, with which I intend to guide you through one of the latest projects that I've been working on, which is precisely on cybercrime against businesses. I guess you see my screen, right, Chuck?
Yes, I do.
Okay, yeah, just for confirmation that I'm sharing the right. Yeah, so over the last couple of years, I've been devoting much attention on the issue of cybercrime reporting and underreporting, and more precisely within a European Union funded project on cybercrime against businesses. So I've been acting as a researcher and a project manager of a project called the Cybercrime Victimization Barometers, which in a nutshell aims to develop, administer, and collect data from a survey which aims to collect information on cyber threats and cybersecurity attacks against companies in different countries of the European Union. Yeah, so just with a graphic, let's say, layout, we'd like to briefly introduce the project before we move to the actual survey and the background of our research. So the project is a 2 years project, so it's not very long nor very complex, but it's essentially composed of 3 main pillars. A background, research and literature review, coupled with interviews with experts, cybercrime law enforcement officers in 3 target member states, which are Bulgaria, Netherlands, and Spain. And the aim of these the first 6 months of the research was to eventually identify not only the most common forms of cybercrime against companies, but also the main factors for reporting and not reporting. Because one of the key issues that we identified while preparing the project proposal to get funding for this research activity was that pretty much about cybercrime threats against companies, there wasn't much that it was known at the academic level. So we did not know much compared to other forms of traditional crimes. And we also came to know that underreporting was one of the key issues, which is companies tend to not report to have been victimized or to have been exposed to cybersecurity threats for a number of reasons, which we will briefly discuss. So we decided to develop a survey to measure and identify these cybercrime threats and the reasons for reporting or not reporting to law enforcement authorities, to validate the survey through an actual field work in the 3 member states, and then to eventually combine all of these in a conceptual tool for digital reporting, a document in which with which we want to identify the main key points that could help companies and law enforcement authorities cooperate when it comes to enhancing knowledge and reporting of cybercrime. So yeah, really briefly, the review of Bulgaria, the Netherlands, and Spain clearly identified that there is an increasing trend of cybercrime and different forms of cyber offenses in these 3 countries. But I'm fairly sure that the increasing trend is observed worldwide. As you can see, Bulgaria and Spain have very different figures, and this can be done by, of course, the different type of measurements, but also sources used. And for example, in the case of Bulgaria, there isn't much culture for digital reporting. Law enforcement officers and cybercrime units are not really well connected with the business network and with the citizens either. So when there is a cybercrime attack or a cybersecurity threat, individuals or companies generally do not really know who to turn to file the crime report. Whereas Netherlands has a more knowledge and history over the last decades of cooperation among the different type of stakeholders. So like there are very different type of factors. This is not an exhaustive list, but among the key reasons for why companies tend to report to law enforcement authorities, we found that clearly the existence of secure communication channels plays a role, is a factor for reporting. Having a trust building cooperation among these 2 organizations, or let's say the authorities and companies, is an enabling factor. Having a central reporting mechanism, and also having an internal training and reporting culture when it comes to the companies. Now, why do companies do not report? Here there are also several reasons. fear of reputational damage is always and is often discussed and raised among the key factors, although the literature doesn't really support the notion that companies do not report because they fear that the reputation could be damaged. It's more a matter of having the right set of skills and experts in-house, but also having a well-established cooperation and trust building mechanism with the law enforcement, which is, if it's lacking, then you might not have this communication and interaction. And sometimes, or in some cases, conflict of interest with business continuity is also an issue, because in getting back to business, if they are victim of a ransomware attack or a DDoS attack, rather than freezing every IT infrastructure to then preserve the criminal evidence that could be collected by the authorities. So this is also one of the key reasons for not reporting. Now, coming to the business cyber victimization survey, so we decided to know more about this issue, about cybercrime against companies specifically. Our preliminary research identified that there isn't much done by the previous studies, in Europe at least. There are some global reports on cybersecurity threats, but in terms of academic literature, few studies have been published, especially in the Netherlands. And one of the key latest documents has been published by the European Commission, which precisely investigated across the EU 27 member states the main factors for reporting and the main cybersecurity threats against small and medium enterprises. So we decided to kind of mirror this approach with a slightly different angle, which I will briefly show you, focusing on cybercrime victimization and reporting as well, with a more deep focus on factors for underreporting. And also we decided to include many more industry sectors. You see that here they focus on manufacturing, retail, services, and industry, but we decided to expand the number of sectors to more than 12 categories, including agriculture and any other business that has a presence online. Essentially, one of the key results, again, of this previous study was about cybercrime reporting, where it was highlighted that almost half of the companies surveyed, 44%, did not report the cybersecurity threat to anyone. So we are not discussing about service provider or any other authority, but the companies dealt with the incident internally in most of the cases. Or they consider the incident not to be worth reporting, perhaps again for the issues of conflict of interest with business continuity. So yeah, let's say going to the research gap, we understood that despite previous studies, there isn't much being done at the European level on cybercrime against businesses. So we decided to further expand and enhance the knowledge with a cross-country business cyber victimization survey. So we have developed the methodology, and we tested the methodology with a pilot test in Bulgaria, providing the survey to a sample of 40 companies, 10% of the sample. And then we decided to administer the survey to 400 companies in each country with a sampling method which ensures national representativity, dividing or taking into consideration micro to large companies. So our added value is that we not only focus on small and medium enterprises, but we also aim to include micro and very large companies, which is 200 and plus employees. Yeah, we exclude the charities, self-employed individuals, and public organizations because this was out of the scope. Although we have observed after the Ukraine and Russia crisis that public authorities and organizations and government agencies have also increasingly been exposed to cybercrime and cyber threats over the past year. We also decided to use the standard method, the gold standard of reference period, which is the previous 12 months. Now, approaching the conclusions of this, let's say, journey, I would just wanted to let you focus on the questions, because we devoted a lot of time on trying to frame and design the right type of question, because sometimes we often hear that the answer to a question is important, but it's also important that the question is the appropriate question, right? So we wanted to make sure that when we deployed the survey, we didn't use too much jargon or technical words that would require a lot of expertise on the topic. So as you can see in this table, we didn't say, have you been exposed or have you been victimized by a ransomware, but we described what ransomware in our, to the best of our knowledge, is. And the same goes for malware, phishing attack, hacking, DDoS attacks, and all the other forms of cybercrime that we identified as the most common. So this is a little bit different compared to the previous studies, because the previous studies tend to be very short in describing the type of cybercrime, whereas, as we said, we decided to define and to spell it out, the type of cybercrime that we were interested. So in this case of the ransomware attack, we asked whether like the company experienced a cyber attack trying to deny access to the company data systems by encrypting, and what was the outcome of the incident. This is some other, we have included a number of indicators: prevalence rate, incidence rate, and of course unreported rate, to eventually have a very accurate picture of the cybercrime situation against the companies in these 3 countries. And we are about to collect the final results of this effort. At the end of this month, we will collect the result of the survey in these 3 countries. And we are expected to analyze and publish the results in a couple of months. So if any of you is interested, just let me know. This is my contact, and you can also visit our website, which is cbar.eu. And that's pretty much from me. Thank you for your attention, and I'm more than happy for any questions or curiosity. Thanks.
Thank you, Tommaso. We'll turn it back to Harry.
Just you allow me, I will give a brief introduction of Dr. Cooper, who is here with us in person. We already heard some of your insights, but I just want, like, for the people who is attending, to have a little bit of knowledge of who you are. So here we are with Dr. Harry Cooper. He is the co-director of APUS. Is that the way to pronounce it?
Yes, APUS, American Public University
System Center for Cyber Defenses, and he's also an assistant professor of the American Public University System. So he will talk about the mosaic theory of how combining OSINT and data mining can find almost anything online. So thank you very much for joining us today in person, and the floor is yours. If you want to, you can get to the side.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do it from here. I guess this is fine.
Change the slides to that, and that will wait.
So, as it said, I'm Dr. Harry Cooper. I have my doctorate in cybersecurity. What I'm going over is a combination of things, starting back when I worked on my master's degree and all the way through my doctorate degree. And it's talking about mosaic theory. If you never heard of it, there are 50 bazillion variations of mosaic theory. Mosaic theory of stocks, mosaic theory of biology, you name it. What I'm looking at is mosaic theory of intelligence. And that basically says that for all intents and purposes, any secret document that you can have can be put together from non-secret material. It's basically like a gigantic puzzle, like the nice mosaics you see from the Roman times. So I used that and combined it with OSINT, which is open source intelligence, and data mining to prove that you can find almost anything you want online. It is a little disturbing, some of the stuff that I found. So I'll try to go quickly on this one. I'm trying to time myself. So I'm going to go over the background of how everything came about. or sorry, everything about me, sorry, and then how it all started, how everything came about. Then we're gonna actually carry out a action and go through an example collection and then wrap up. So everything you did not want to know about me. So, whoa, I teach at American Public University and other universities. My apologies. Have been teaching face-to-face and online courses since 2013. I am currently a full-time professor at APUS, also co-director of the Center for Cyber Defense at APUS. I actually went to a conference back in November, and the guy who was introducing me actually said, you know, no, we have people that are actual cyber people here. We're not gonna have some political science professor talking about stuff, and didn't realize that my bachelor degree is actually in poli-sci. My master's of science in cybersecurity, intelligence, and forensics is from Utica University, which at the time was Utica College. My doctor of science in cybersecurity is from Capital Technology University. And these two next items are kind of what's going to be making up today's presentation. My master's capstone, this is the official title, Attacking San Francisco Critical Infrastructure, a Cyber Threat Analysis. The nickname inside the school was How to Blow Up San Francisco from Your Home Computer. My doctoral dissertation was a freedom of information in the age of terrorism, the mosaic theory and practice. Again, these will all make sense as I go along. So how this all started. So there was a discussion in a class that I was sitting in that talked about, the class was on terrorism and things like that. And we had a discussion one week and it said, you know, come up with a terrorist scenario. At that time, the Olsen twins were being really annoying. So I decided that I would do a joke assignment of how to blow up the Full House house. I thought it was cute. So how did I go about the attack? Well, first thing I did identified was the delivery system. In this case, the house used Pacific Gas and Electric for gas and electric. I identified the distribution systems. So within the PG&E system, what technologies were used to control their distribution systems. Then I went and identified potential vulnerabilities, researching the technology that I identified in step 2 for potential vulnerabilities and how to exploit them. And then the final step was plan and analyze. Once I knew the vulnerabilities were identified, the analysis could determine the results. I will say that PG&E, which is basically Northern California and everything, you guys hear about the California wildfires? There was one started by a transformer or something. That's PG&E. Lots of the companies in the electric and gas delivery in California report like 1 or 2 excursions a month. And what that means is their gas pipelines have gone above what they are rated for. It was a mistake, you know, so that they tend to report 1 or 2 a month. PG&E tends to report 1 or 2 a day. So they were very vulnerable. So eventually I was able to produce a system that should, knowing what they were using and such, should have allowed for a terrorist attack. And that map you're seeing over here, every single one of these blue circles is a location that was blown up using their gas and electrical systems. And the circles actually are the anticipated blast radius. And that I figured out online. You can do anything online. So again, I used Pacific Gas Electric in about, I think it was 4 to 6 hours, 200 to 300,000 people would have died. 32 separate targets. All law enforcement agencies were targeted. Over 50% of healthcare beds in the city were targeted. Went after the Federal Reserve Bank. Most people don't realize as money's moving around, it tends to pass through a Federal Reserve Bank. And if you think about who is in California, Google, PayPal, Facebook, and guess where all of their transactions eventually pass through? That Federal Reserve. So I don't know if anybody here actually remembers 9/11. When 9/11 hit, I was actually at work. I had radio on and I heard about the first one. So I went over, turned on the television at work and saw the plane, second plane go in. And one thing I try to get people to understand is a lot of what I teach is manipulation. And 9/11 was a perfect example of manipulation. They hit the first building and delayed to the second one on purpose. It wasn't because one plane was slower or anything like that. Because once you get somebody looking at the thing on live TV, you take that surprise that they had from the first one and you just ratchet it up 10,000%. Versus knowing that both were hit, you find out at the same exact time. You're still gonna be worried, but it's not gonna ratchet up as fast. And that is why the Golden Gate Bridge was the first target to be blown up. All telco central offices are targeted to remove communications. So at least in the US, we have telco offices, and these are key points throughout cities where all the connections come together. All transportation methods were affected. Final result is complete mayhem and fear, not only in San Francisco, but across the entire United States. Again, Golden Gate Bridge goes down, everybody's turning on their TV, and then boom, 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 32 separate times. So where did I get the information? Energy firms report to over 23 separate governmental agencies, each of which have their own disclosure policies. There was the number of places and just some of the oddest things, like if your power goes through a national park, you have to report to the National Park Service. If any small bit of Native American land is in there, you have to report to the Bureau of Indian Affairs. These people are not cyber gurus. They ask for the report. Most of them can't read it, let alone not restrict access to it. They do FOIA and they'll give out anything you ask. Court cases and transcripts. So with the court case and transcripts, I knew what smart meter they were using, and I was able to dig through court cases and find out that there was a whistleblower trial that took place, and basically the person exposed that these things were apt to catching fire if attacked in a certain fashion. Conferences in their reports, interestingly enough, they use the same pressurization system as the Alaskan pipeline did at one point. And I was able to find a notation about the pressurization system, a way it could be hacked, where it's reporting that it's at 5 PSI, but you can take it all the way 30, 40, 50 PSI and make it explode. That was from a conference. Google searches, FOIA results, PG&E's website. There are tons and tons of information out there on PG&E website. Governmental websites, university websites, utility websites, and the web in general. So eventually this became my capstone. I designed some software. They weren't able to get that through as my capstone. So they're like, okay, can you write up a capstone? So I went ahead and took this fun thing that I had done to blow up the full house and turned it into my capstone. One of the things that ended up leading to this whole mosaic theory, I gave myself 15 minutes. And I was given details of an upcoming smart meter deployment in the Northeast. In 15-minute period, the information on the next screen will cover everything that I had found. And almost all of this information was generated by Google searches. So in 15 minutes, I was able to identify the name of the smart meter manufacturer, the underlying technology that is used by the smart meter manufacturer, the new network's topography, the technologies, the budget, the key staff members at the utility heading up the project, the timelines for deployment, my personal favorite, the transmission frequencies for the network. Smart meter diagnostics, maintenance tools, and protocols. I even found a vendor that would sell me the smart meters and the tools that I needed to work on the smart meter. Back office software suite and a interface commands manual for those back office systems. 15 minutes. So this worked its way into my dissertation. And what I was basically looking at is mining with the data. The more data that we feed into a system, database, website, wherever, social media, it does not make it harder to find information. It actually improves the likelihood of not only finding data, but also stronger and more detailed data. So now some of this is going to differ because we're in the UK. And I'm not sure how you guys are doing the European Union privacy standards and all that fun stuff. But in the US, we give up our data quickly and easily. We may not put all of it in one spot, but it doesn't matter. So think about it. How many people are actually use social media? Yeah. Everybody's talking to their friends, somebody's wishing somebody happy birthday, somebody talking about their dog, you name it. So if I want to go ahead and hack somebody's account, I'm going to go in and I'm going to read their social media because your passwords tend to be something from your life. So every single thing that you do, picture you post, is going to feed into the system. That's where we have the fun people. And those are our data brokers. They will gather data directly or get it indirectly by purchasing from the websites you use. Every single website that you use, look in the terms and conditions, and you will find that they are selling your data to these brokers. And they'll sell everything. Every single thing you put into there, they will sell it. Which comes down to the product. Product nowadays is you. If you get something for free, you are the product. Facebook doesn't give you all those cool tools so that you make your friends and all that fun stuff. No. Go onto Facebook's advertising system, create yourself an account, and go in there and just try and narrow down the various characteristics, traits, etc., that you could do, and you'll find you can get it tailored really darn good. So one firm, data broker wise, confirmed that they collect 11,000 different points of information across 2.5 billion consumers, make over 200 billion annually. So how can data mining cause problems? And it's a little tough to see up there in the right-hand side, but it's one of my favorite cartoons ever. It says, get all the information you can. We'll think of a use for it later. On average, 15 characteristics of an individual are needed to de-anonymize data with a 99.98% success rate. When you hear, the Tesco website or others say, hey, we're using this data, it's anonymized. No data ever is anonymized. July 2021, senior Catholic official resigned after a Catholic newsletter found that the official was on Grindr over a 3-year period. How did they find that data? Did somebody go on to Grindr? No. They had, Grindr had sold their data to a data broker, and they happened to get pulled in. Data protection laws are non-existent in the US, making data brokering not only legal, but a growing business. You can market to vulnerable groups of customers. Again, remember how I said you get really precise on the Facebook? So you can go to one of these data brokers, you can ask for rural and barely making it, or ethnic second city strugglers, or retiring on empty singles, all these various groups, and then you target them with your information. You target them with your services. Data can also be used to reject individuals for jobs, loans, and more. Don't forget, data is not always correct. Data mining can be good though. So in 2004, Walmart mined their data for hurricane-related purchases, and there was one item that was a surprise. Anybody want to take a guess? Food? Strawberry Pop-Tarts. There's a hurricane coming through your area. People buy more strawberry Pop-Tarts than normal. Shopping cart analysis can also show interesting products. In this case, anybody want to guess what is in a cart with baby diapers? It's the most likely item, not baby wipes. Very close. Beer. And if you think about it, makes sense. Mom's, I know this might be slightly sexist. Mom is home with the baby. Dad's coming home from work. He's had a crap day at work. He's gonna get home. Wife's gonna say, here, take the kid. And he's not gonna want to be dad of the year. He's going to want to drink. And that's just something fun that you can find. You can also use for predictive policing. Different cities across the US are starting this up. And by using predictive policing, they are able to cause roughly 30% drop in crime. And that's by just focusing more officers in particular areas based off of particular data. Domino's. Domino's, if you guys don't know, is a pizza place. They use data mining to improve their customer experience using over 85,000 separate sources of data. And then fraud reduction in financial and medical sectors. So how did we get to this point? 1978, there was a case called Halkin versus Helms. And the judge basically said in the age of computer technology that it had shifted intelligence gathering from cloak and daggers to a mosaic construction. In 2013, Cambridge University and Microsoft Research Labs carried out a study where they identified personal attributes solely based on their Facebook likes. You guys do remember that, right? The little Facebook like thingy. In this particular case, if you showed likes for swimming, Jesus, Pride and Prejudice, and Indiana Jones, the prediction that it came up with was the individual was satisfied with life. And it was proven to be pretty much true. In comparison, a like for So Happy, Curve, Girl Interrupted, The Addams Family, and Kurt Donald Cobain produced the prediction that the individual was emotionally unstable or neurotic. According to this study summary, the model was able to correctly identify a man's sexual orientation with an 88% accuracy, identify the race of an individual with 95% accuracy, and identify the affiliation of an individual with an 85% accuracy. Gotta love that data. So there was a book by Daniel Trottier that I used actually while I was doing my final dissertation. It was called Social Media as Surveillance, Rethinking Visibility in a Converging World. Basically, it said that with social media, we are producing our digital representation of ourselves. Every time we feed data into it, we're giving it knowledge that is ours. So the digital body is generated by first filling up the repository, then with personal and private information, and then stepping outside of your separate silo, your digital home, and creating social linkages or friends. The act of friending results in the production of even more data. And if you ever truly want to manipulate somebody, using friends will almost always work. Chief Technology Officer of the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency in the US, pushed this same approach toward data and the mosaic theory when he stated in an interview in 2013, the value of a piece of data is not known until you can connect it with another piece of data that you collect in the future. So let's give it a try. And I will say, I tried to convince mine and Chuck's dean to let me do her for this. She said no. I used somebody that I know. So our victim, Jeffrey Jude Zabilik, and all I had was his name and location. That's it. Nothing else. So, knowing where the Townsend is, I went in, searched on the town, searched on the name, and I was able to bring up his house. All the data that I want, any tax bills, sewer bills, construction details, code violations, code enforcement fees, just tons and tons of data. Found a screenshot of him doing an interview. Just going again, following this stream of data, I found two separate things. He had had a house fire, and there was tons of information on that site. Also, there was a court case where the people that had been hired to do some fire work basically ripped them off. Just again, following those lines, I found different reviews. So just by searching your name, you left a review on a company or something, it'll come up. Found his Facebook page. Found Twitter's links that are associated with him. In this particular case, I was able to find a story that talked about him getting a jersey of his favorite soccer player and gave information on an accident that he had been involved in. Also found out he's a teacher. He actually went and did a NASA Academy for college students. Oh yeah, this one was, I was trying to narrow down once I found out that he was a teacher. These are him walking through mathematical problems. I found out where he taught. I even found out how much they paid him. Again, found more articles, even a photo of his kid. More videos from his YouTube page. I didn't actually go and pick any of these and show you the documents, but for just a couple of cents per page, I can go in and print off his mortgage, deeds, tons of other information. So I did this actually for somebody like a decade ago. It was a professor of mine. And I was able to tell him his wife wasn't available at closing, so someone had to sign for her. I was able to tell him how much his APR was on his mortgage, who he had his mortgage through, the whole 9 yards. Everything is in these public systems. These are just, again, other random pieces of data. I found out his date of birth, where he grew up, what high school he attended, what years he was in the Air Force. Again, I mentioned he had an accident, he had a traumatic brain injury. Again, these are all just random pieces of data. Using some of the more fun sites out there, Cluster Maps, Radarus, and Official USA, these are data brokers. As you can see, I get tons of information. I get former addresses, so because he was military, moved around a lot. And same thing over here. So wrapping things up. I thought I had one more in there. Yeah. That was it. I thought I had one more.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Cooper. That was quite impressive and scary.
I'm told I am very scary at times.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. I will open up for questions or for participants, either online. I think we don't have any questions online. I don't know if any of the in-person attendants have some questions for any of our speakers.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to the speakers who are on Zoom. I can't see you right now, but I hope you're still there. I guess on the first presentation about your really interesting program and how you've reformed it, I was wondering, you know, in my experience, I'm really I think this concept of topics and subjects being co-taught across, particularly criminal justice. I'm also in I'm in a law school which used to be merged with the criminology department. Now we've divorced. You know, I also kind of specialize in cybercrime and security aspects, but from a legal and criminological perspective. And we have tried to make our team a bit more varied in terms of this discipline, but it's been really challenging to actually share modules with other departments. And that's mostly because of the way the institutions are organized. And it's all about how you know, how do you pay for teaching time when, you know, income, mostly from tuition fees, goes into department A. And then if you're sharing a module with department B, it becomes really, really complicated to. So I wonder if you had those sorts of issues and whether you have any tips for moving beyond this kind of financial silo that exists between departments. Yeah.
We're lucky in the way we're structured that I don't have to deal with those types of issues. I have had to deal with those issues at other universities. And that is a very legitimate problem. Here at APUS, we're very lucky in that as a department chair, as even our teams of faculty. It's a very different atmosphere as opposed to like a Research One university where I used to be at, where it's all kind of like Daffy Duck, mine. Where here it is, we at this level, we all work together as a team, and we very much share, and we very much are happy to I have developed something, it can help you, here, go forth and run with it. And we don't have to worry about the financial aspects of it, thankfully. But yeah, when I was at a Research One, it was very much, you know, this is my course, I developed it, it was done with dollars that came out of this pot, so you can't have it. I'm not going to share it with you. Or if you need it, well, that's great, but you know, what's in it for me? And that's a hard barrier to break down. And that's one of the reasons why I'm no longer at a Research One, because I didn't like that atmosphere. Like I said before, I came from a law enforcement background where we are, you know, part of a team. And yeah, that the other atmosphere just didn't work well for me. So you're going to have to find creative ways and getting with individuals that are like-minded, and eventually, you know, working up through the system to try to change it. It can be very frustrating, very, very frustrating. And what I find is that with dealing with my faculty and dealing with the students, that's the easy part of what I do on a regular basis. It's dealing with the administration. That's the very, very frustrating aspect of what I do. And that drives me absolutely insane. And that's the hardest part. And it's just a matter of just knowing that in the big picture. That's why, you know, I stuck with it for 3 years, kept fighting, because I knew in the long run, it would benefit those that I have to take care of, the students and my faculty. And it's just sticking with it. And I knew it was the right thing to do, and just keep sticking with it and keep fighting it. Eventually you can win. It is possible.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so this is just to thank you very much, Dr. Russo, Dr. Comunale, and Dr. Cooper, for being with us today. Have a nice afternoon. Thank you very much.
Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.